This is the Frat House Sports Show. And now for this week's completely different and humorous perspective on everything sports, here's Frat House Mike and Sidekick.
Alrighty, well, welcome back to one packed edition of the new Frat House Sports Show. And, well, you couldn't have picked a better week to tune in, as we'll be introducing some new segments, talking about some sports we haven't talked about since last season. Well, at least, some of us haven't talked about maybe in 2 seasons. Hey, how about a little bit of college football? We're going to be talking that one as well. And introducing some new regular contributors to our show. So it's a big things here this evening on a big show. But nothing much bigger, I guess, Sidekick, for you anyhow last night, as your St. Louis Cardinals. Well, they won the 5th game of the NLDS against the Pittsburgh Pirates in rather dramatic style, with Adam Wainwright coming out in beast mode. David Freese right now being referred to as the new Mr. October. And so at this point right now, well, we've got it set. The NLCS is set up. We've got it right there. We know that these are going to be the matchups. You've got the St. Louis Cardinals going up against the LA Dodgers. Actually, the other way around. The Dodgers are going up against the Cardinals in a 7-game 2-3-2 format now series. Opens up on Friday evening, I believe, in St. Louis. Now, obviously, we know who you're rooting for. But I got to ask you, many analysts have indicated, well, a lot of people have been saying Dodgers could win the World Series. Some of them going back to, like right around the end of July. What's your feeling here? Obviously, look, we know you're rooting for. But what do you think? Seriously. 2-3-2 format against the Dodgers.
Well, I said the Bucks were going to be out, right?
Yes, you did.
The Dodgers are going to be out.
The Dodgers are going to be out. You heard it here.
There seems to be no sign of intelligent life anyway.
All right. So your guys are going to be in the World Series. All right. Let's see who they might be playing over in the American League. We're waiting on one more divisional series game, and that's the game that's going on this evening, Game 5 between the Oakland A's and the Detroit Tigers. That series currently tied up right now at 2 games apiece. And we know that the winner of that will ultimately go on and play the Boston Red Sox, and that series will start up on Saturday night. All right, there's our Major League Baseball wrap. Let's go take a look at some other playoffs. We got some playoffs going on over in NASCAR. As we have
playoffs?
Race
Don't talk about
number
playoffs.
4.
You kidding me? Playoffs?
That's what they're talking about. And we had chase race number 4 out in Kansas last Sunday. And after leading 138 laps, well, closer, Kevin Harvick, he won it and did himself a big favor you're going to see here in a moment, making himself relevant, just 25 points behind the leader, Matt Kenseth. And since I brought it up, let's take a look at that leaderboard. And a couple of things jumped out to me, Sidekick, and then I want to get your read on it as well. First was, we had the 34th place finish by Kyle Busch, which dropped him back into 5th. Last week, you might remember he was in 3rd place. Right now, he's 35 points out off of the leader. Excuse me. The second thing that jumped off to me, was with Matt Kenseth getting an 11th place finish. He's now only 3 points. 3 points. That's it, ahead of the number 2 Jimmy Johnson.
A 5-time, yep.
So, what else struck out to you from this particular board?
Well, one thing that we've noticed as we've been going is that once people start dropping, it's a lot harder to make up that ground.
Yep.
We've had a couple guys that have, Edwards last week dropped 5 spots. He finished 5th at Kansas. He didn't move any spots with that 5th place finish.
Right.
So once, it's very easy to drop. And drop a lot of spots.
It's very tough to get back up.
Yes, you see guys moving up 1 spot, 2 spots a week.
Right.
And it's going to get tighter as we obviously as we go along.
Okay.
So Casey Kane's been off the chart now for a couple of weeks. Like I said, was saying back then, I think his chances are are pretty much done.
The other question I had for you that I was thinking about earlier today, I mean, obviously you don't have a crystal ball, but it seems to me every year we see at least one non-chase driver win a race. If we do see that in the remaining 6 races that we've got coming up, what would be the likely place that we might see it? In other words, what track?
I'm thinking you may see it at Talladega.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say that.
Because that's the wild card there.
Right.
I mean, anything can happen at Talladega.
Gut feeling. I mean, it looks like a pretty rich chase field anyhow. Are we going to see any non-chase drivers win? Would you bet on it?
Yeah. I'm not going to say it's not impossible.
Okay.
Well, it's likely we may see one, with Talladega being the most likely one.
Right, the crapshoot. Okay, gotcha. All right, well, we got chase race number 5 coming up. Hey, Saturday night. How about that one? Saturday night down at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Pre-race coverage beginning at 6:30 on ABC. ABC this week too, folks. So we get prime time and we get it on network, which is great. That means we need a bit of fantasy advice, Sidekick, and as always, Sidekick's NASCAR fantasy picks brought to you by our friends down in the Baltimore area at Herb FM Sports Internet Radio. Asking you, please get over there, check them out at herbfm.com. What do you got for us this week?
After his disappointing finish last week, we're going to start off the list with Kyle Busch. He's 28.50.
Okay.
And while we're talking about Busch, we're going to talk about his brother, Kurt Busch. We're going to put him on the roster at 25.50 with his second place finish last week. Then we're going to go to the cellar, and we're going to talk about Mr. Casey Kane, who is $25.
Okay.
Runs well here at Charlotte. Then we're going to kind of fill out the roster with Casey Mears. Again, he's $13.25. And then my lucky dog, sponsored by Herb FM Sports, goes to Dave Rudeman, $5.75, taking our roster total to $97.75.
All right, and we showed the fantasy leaderboard, and you can see, what am I in, 4th? You're in 6th?
6th.
There we go, 4th and 6th.
Yep.
So
Just
still anybody.
Just 2 points behind.
Yeah, still anybody. This is what's exciting right now about fantasy. It really is. I mean, because you can see there's only, a 6-point difference between myself and the top, and what do you got there? A 6 point? Is it 6 points? Yeah, we're almost tied. 7 points. Okay. So anyhow, good stuff. Alrighty. Hey, we're going to talk about a sport we haven't talked about in a while. The 2013-14 NHL campaigns opened last week. We didn't get a chance to talk about it last week. At this time, we're opening up the season for a full season. How do you like that one? And we wanted to introduce a new occasional NHL segment. How about this one? Mike and Sidekick's Two-Man Advantage. An occasional, because we're going to be bringing stories to you that are kind of the hot topics in the NHL. And we had one this past week. And that happened on Monday. Excuse me, with just 3 games into the season, the Philadelphia Flyers brass fired their head coach of the past 4 seasons, Peter Laviolette. The Flyers had gotten off to a slow start, going 0-3 and being outscored 9-3 in those 3 games.
What's the problem now?
Yeah, well, I guess Peter was wondering. The whole thing came as kind of a bit of a shock to many around the NHL, and in particular Flyers fans. Shocked that they kind of pulled the trigger, I guess, as early as they did. Only 3 games in, seemed a bit premature. Perhaps maybe even some might say a bit callous. But add to it all, there were rumors that had been flying going back to preseason, even to the extent that Vegas was taking bets on Laviolette being the first coach fired. That came as a bit odd to me. Another thing that was a bit odd, however, the fact that team owner Ed Snyder, someone the fans rarely hear from, was present at the press conference announcing the coaching change, was a little bit odd. During that public appearance, Snyder loaded for bear. I don't know if anybody's heard the sound bites from it. Sniping off at a few reporters and making comments that maligned the team's former coach, who had taken the team to the Stanley Cup Finals in 2010. In the end, Flyers general manager Paul Holmgren announced that the new coach would be former Flyers enforcer Craig Berube, who had been an assistant under Laviolette, also played in the NHL in just under 1,100 games in his career as a left winger with just 61 goals. But hey, let's not take everything away from him. He had 3,100 penalty minutes. All right, Sidekick, wanted you to weigh in on this one. What's your thinking on this move? I know your team is St. Louis. I could bring them up too. They're unbeaten right now in their season, but you live right here in the Philadelphia area along with myself. You follow it. What was your thinking on this one?
Oh, I could talk about hockey now?
I would like you to.
Okay.
If you've taken off your own personal moratorium.
Nope, yep, we're going to talk about hockey this season.
Goodness gracious.
It doesn't matter what sport we talk about. I always find it weird when so early in a season you make coaching changes.
Yep.
And that where, if you were that unsure, why did you even start?
Exactly.
Why did you even start the season? Why don't you either fire him in the preseason or fire him before the preseason?
Season started, right?
Other than it may have been a timing thing. But then if you're talking about a timing thing, why are you going 3 games into a season and then firing somebody? Now, having said that, though, after the announcement, the Flyers did go to get their first win under new coach Craig Berube. But now the question is, was that a win because of, just the team playing, or is there a coaching style, or was there more to it?
Was there discontent potentially, perhaps maybe in the locker room itself?
Right.
Because obviously Berube has not had any time to put in any of his own kind of thing on this team. Let's get that one straight. They won a game. Listen, they probably would have won the game. Let's get it straight. Had Laviolette still been there. The thing that I found distasteful was the fact that throughout the press conference, it just seemed like they were continuing to malign Laviolette, indicating that, it was the worst training camp, worst preseason that they had ever seen. I found it very, very distasteful.
Right. And then the press conference, you have them lashing out at reporters about culture, and then the following day, when Berube is poked at for about excessive penalty minutes and stuff like that, he's all about culture. I'm sorry, what the hell's going on over here?
Yeah, what the hell is
what we got
are
here
these the Jets?
Is a failure to communicate.
I kind of made the similarity a little bit to the Lakers from last year. If you remember, they went and fired their head coach. I think it was less than 5 games or 5 games, and we know what happened to the Lakers. That was a dysfunctional team all season long. So you got to wonder. I'm certainly not predicting it, and that's not what I want. I'm a Flyers fan. I want to see the team do well. But somehow or another, this is not the way I think you want to start it off for your fan base with a bad taste in their mouth.
Well, and honestly, I think this firing was just a CYA, kind of thing. And somebody pictured here maybe out as well. And this was there's
been rumors of that.
So we'll have to see how the season plays out.
There's been rumors of that. All right. Well, there's a little bit of NHL action for you, and we'll be bringing that to you occasionally as things crop up over the next number of weeks. All right, let's go. What do you say we get a little bit of football in, but we're going to do it just a little bit differently this evening. We're very happy and excited to announce a new partnership with the folks over at Coach and Player Magazine, which you can get, and encourage you to go over to their website, www.coachandplayer.com. All right, these guys over there are covering wide range of collegiate and professional football issues. And we're going to be joined regularly by some of their writers and columnists to chat about some of the hot topics that they're covering over at their online magazine. This evening, pre-show, we had a chance to chat with Chris Franklin about some, of all things, college football and local college football. And we want to bring that to you right now. All right, well, we're thrilled. Joining us this evening is Chris Franklin, a columnist for Coach and Player Magazine. Chris, thanks for being with us tonight.
Thank you guys for inviting me. I appreciate it.
And you're coming to us from down in Maryland this evening. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
All righty. I want to kick it off a little bit. You've been writing for a couple of months over there for Coach and Player Magazine. And one of the pieces that just recently came out, well, kind of near and dear to the heart of, I think, some of our fans right here in this area, because we tape right here from the suburban Philadelphia area. You did a piece on the Temple Owls. And in there you titled it Temple of Gloom. And I made the comment, well, it certainly is. I mean, considering right now that they're 0-5. But in your article, you kind of put out to the audience, to your readership, you kind of put out there a plea to them to be patient. And I guess maybe I want to go to that first. Why should this fan base of the Temple Owls be patient?
Well, right now they have a lot of building pieces that to go on, right? They've had 2 really good recruiting classes from the past 2 years. They have a new coach, so everybody's trying to gel together at the same time. They have a schedule that they're going to the new AAU they're currently into right now. So they have all those factors going at the same time. I think they definitely have a good shot possibly next year to be a little better than 0-5. And they've actually lost 2 games that they probably should have won. One against Idaho, and then the other one to Houston. They kept it close as well, too. So there's definitely some bright spots to look forward to, and hopefully can build on the rest of the season.
Now, let me throw this one out to you real quick. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm kind of a peripheral Temple fan. I'm not a Temple grad. I actually graduated down the street at one of their competitors, and that's LaSalle. But I follow them because I'm right here in the area and because I'm a sports fan. They're a team that kind of feels like they don't have, or at least a program that feels like they don't have an identity. They've gone through 3 coaches in the past 5 seasons. They've jumped around from one conference to another. You never quite know, which conference they're in. Sometimes I get confused. They're a group that just kind of feels like they don't have an identity. Is Matt Rule the kind of guy that's going to change that?
Well, I think that he is. He's been with the program beforehand as well, too, assistant around 2005, 2006. He left for 1 year to go to New York. So he knows the area. He knows the university itself. He knows the Temple fans as well, too. So I think that his previous experience will definitely help him from now on into the future as well.
Okay.
Well, I got a question for you. Excuse me. Sorry. My St. Louis Rams are the youngest team in the NFL. Now, in your article, you talk about Temple being the second youngest in the NCAA with the number of freshmen and sophomore in their program. With only 4 years of college to really play football, is that enough time for the players to mature in the organization and to actually see the results before they graduate?
I think especially with this Temple team, Sidekick, that it definitely will be is a good factor for them. They'll have the experience, especially this year, to play more and more and that's more than some colleges can offer. Most times, like say Ohio State, unless you're a 5-star recruit who gets thrown right away, you will have to usually set the bench. This time they're actually getting playing experience, so that way they'll be able to go ahead, gel as a team, especially positions like offensive line, gel together, so that way when they face down the line and compete for AAU championship and on to bigger and better things, hopefully maybe a top 25 appearance, they'll be able to use this experience that they're taking now to use for the future.
Collegiate programs, as we know, their success is based upon their ability to recruit. Now, I understand what you're saying about Rule. He knows the area. He knows, hopefully, what stones to go unturned to find the kids to come to this program. Philadelphia, however, has some pretty good programs right inside. It's a rather competitive market. What's to think that Temple suddenly is going to be, I guess, a draw for some young kids?
Well, I think the allure of, especially if you're in the area, you play at Lincoln Financial Field.
Yeah.
Want to be on the same field as, say, the Eagles were. You still have Rule, who used to play for the Giants. He can say, "Hey, I know my connections. I know what it takes to be in the pros. This is what you have to do. You work hard. You play a system. Be a team guy. I can get you. I can help sell you to the next level as well too." So I think those are 2 really powerful recruiting tools that they can use when he goes into the different kitchen tables and different families in order to get people to come to Temple.
Real good. Does this team win a game this season? We've got Cincinnati coming up, followed by Army. Then you're going to SMU. My gosh, we got Rutgers yet in the schedule. Is this team going to win a game this season?
I definitely think they definitely will win a game. I believe Army is going to be tougher. They're not like the normal rollovers that we're used to seeing, but right. I think Army's a win there. I think SMU's there. Connecticut's a win possibly, and then finally Memphis as well too.
Yep.
So I definitely think they can end on a high note. I mean, we see stranger things happen. We've seen teams go get hot late, and next thing you know, it's going to be hard for them to become bowl eligible because they lost a couple gaming games. But I think they can get heat up and take this into the offseason.
You have a piece that's out right now as well on, help me out, Clowney, down there in South Carolina. I wanted to bring up a point. This guy didn't have anybody's attention, let's get it straight, until one big hit in the Outback Bowl last year, and then suddenly, all of a sudden, this guy gets propelled up the draft ladder. Some are talking about him being perhaps as high as somewhere in the top 5. Talk to me real quick about that piece that you just wrote for Coach and Player Magazine.
Sure, definitely. The upcoming piece will be about, I think Clowney did the right thing. There are times when football is the ultimate team sport. You have to have 11 guys going in the same unison. At the same time, with bruised ribs, it's really hard to go out there and perform. They're sore. Especially with defensive end, you're trying to chuck people off, trying to get enough balance and leverage. And being that he is one of the top 5 players that will be probably drafted, he's going to become a target. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. So because he's going to be a target, I think he did the right thing by sending out. If he got hurt, next thing you know, you were saying, why did Spurrier play him? He was hurt.
Right.
He's available to make a run at a higher bowl seat, possibly a BCS bowl. So he did the right thing.
Chris, some have suggested that perhaps maybe he ought to shut it down completely for the entire season. That doesn't seem to me to be the right move or the moral move. Thoughts?
I wouldn't shut down this whole season just for that one game that he did. I think he possibly, if it was really serious, like a cracked rib one real close, I would say he definitely should have shut it down. But with him being ready to go, he's even said himself he's ready to play next week. I think he's good. He needs to season his game a little bit more, and then I'll put some more tape on the film to try to get that number 1 overall pick.
You got it. I agree with you 100%. All right, Chris, we appreciate you being here with us this week. Maybe perhaps we can get you back in next week. We want to talk a little NFC East stuff with you as well. So perhaps maybe we can get you back here next week. We'll work on that one. Thanks for being with us here tonight. Keep up the good work over there at Coach and Player.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Sidekick, very much for having me on your show. I appreciate it.
You got it, man. Many, many thanks to Chris. And listen, please make sure that you're following him and all the other great columnists over at Coach and Player Magazine. Make sure you get over there and bookmark their site. Be checking it regularly for all your collegiate and NFL professional sports and stuff that they put up there. All right? Get out there and hopefully maybe we get Chris back in here next week because there were a couple of topics we wanted to talk about that we didn't get to. So, all right. But in the meantime, I think that, we have a few minutes for some football of our own. How about that?
And now, 4 minutes of football.
I got to tell you, I have become so weary of the talk about NFL football in London, but the static about expansion of the regular season, it just seems to keep coming up. And it seems to be coming from one guy and one guy only, and that's Roger Goodell. The other day on the topic of a permanent team in London, he had this to say, quote, "This is not our objective. What we are so pleased about is that our game continues to grow, and fans want more. Television broadcasters want more, and sponsors want more. It is a signal that there is real interest in our game internationally. You could view it as a potential home city." Did you just hear what I heard? I don't know who the hell Goodell is talking about, and who he's. I'd love to hear these fans, see these fans, broadcasters and sponsors that are saying they want more, because everyone I've heard speak on this topic have had nothing but negativity. All right? But like the schedule expansion, Sidekick, I think it's going to happen. What are your thoughts on this one real quick? Anything?
Well, Patriots owner Robert Kraft also thinks there should be a team there. Now, before the game, the day before the London game, they had a pep rally. They had 500,000 people there. So there's obviously some sort of thing. I don't think there should be a London team.
Yeah.
I'm not even opposed to a Super Bowl being played there.
Oh my goodness.
Or having some of this.
That's a violation.
Potpourri of teams that play various games over there during a season. But no, they don't need a home team or anything like that.
Oh, man. All right, the other question I got. What the hell has happened to the Atlanta Falcons? They're now sitting in third place right now in the NFC South and 4 games behind the Saints. Many are projecting the Falcons will not even make the playoffs this season. Listen, for this week, they got to be happy, at the fact that they're on a bye. But more bad news came earlier this week when it was announced that Julio Jones, the NFL's number 2 receiver in the league, may be out. In fact, I think it's been confirmed. Is that correct?
It's confirmed
out
today,
for the entire season. And now rumor Roddy White is 50-50 to play in Game 7 when they come back from the bye with a hamstring injury. Question for you. Have the Falcons been shut down for the season?
I think it's a good chance because you also got Steven Jackson, who's been out since week 2 with a hamstring injury. Supposedly, they say he may come back week 7, but he's still not practicing. So, they've got, their offense is grounded.
Tough road to hoe at this point. 4 games behind the leader in that division, and they're certainly not in any wild card position for sure. So,
I mean, now, granted, we could see something where, like a Victor Cruz kind of thing where somebody comes in,
right?
Like Harry Douglas or one of these other guys that comes in and, all of a sudden shows up, comes to play.
All right, last but not least, for the second week in a row, I'm asking the question whether Houston Texans quarterback Matt Schaub, well, should he be worried? He's just been hammered this week. First, he threw 3 more interceptions last weekend, 1 a pick 6. The Texans dropped their 3rd in a row, 34-3 to the 49ers. Then there were reports that fans were harassing him at his home, taking pictures of him and his family and his house. One fan apparently actually accosted him at his front door. We're not done. How about this one? Yesterday, Texans head coach Gary Kubiak reaffirmed that Schaub, in fact, was the starter, and the team would not install backup TJ Yates, but it was less than a ringing endorsement stating, it's a real tough decision, but feel like it's the best thing for our football team. Does Schaub keep his starting position much longer at this point? I mean, we asked him last week. You and I both said, hey, Texans fans, cool your jets, leave it alone. But now it's really starting to look urgent.
You know who the winner in all this is? Tony Romo. He's sitting back smiling going, I'm glad nobody's talking about me anymore. Even after he threw that pick after almost beating your Broncos. They talked about him for a couple hours until Schaub threw a batch of interceptions. Nobody's talking about Romo anymore.
We didn't see quite the maligning going on Facebook for Tony Romo this week, did we? Wow. All right. Well, a little change of tune, I guess, from one week to the next going on with the Texans. All right. Time once again for our picks of the week. This week we're going into week 6. It's hard to believe. Brought to you by our friends Carl and Jim over at CLW83.com. Be sure you're checking their network out over there, over on the internet. Check out all their original podcast programming, and we thank those guys tremendously for supporting us right here at Frat House Sports. I got to be honest, coming up with really compelling matchups this week was a bit tedious, to say the least.
Sure.
So I'm going to be honest, folks, a couple of these games we may just move through rather quickly, but not the first one. The first one, we're going to be taking a look at the Green Bay Packers at the Baltimore Ravens 1 o'clock game on Sunday. The Packers right now currently are sitting in 3rd place. Yes, I said 3rd in the NFC North with a 2-2 record. And as a result, Sidekick, it just seems to me there doesn't seem to be quite the vibe this year for the Packers that we've seen in previous seasons. Nonetheless, the Packers and Aaron Rodgers at home last week, they took care of their division rivals. And what really was, I guess, kind of a must-win for the Pack, they took care of the Detroit Lions 22-9. Another team that's kind of, though, missing the vibe have been the Super Bowl defending champion Baltimore Ravens. Still, though, they're in a 3-way tie for first place in the AFC North. They're coming off a very exciting, actually, 26-23 win over the Miami Dolphins that was won on a field goal with less than 2 minutes remaining in the game. But Joe Flacco was and has been, I don't think I've said it.
Here it comes.
I don't think I've said it. I don't think I've said it all season long. He has been strictly mediocre. Green Bay is a 3-point favorite on the road.
Any of this getting through to you, son?
Where are you coming down on this one, Sidekick?
Well, you know, it's funny you talk about Green Bay struggling. If you remember, last year they struggled in the beginning of the season and then came on really strong at the end of the season.
Yep.
So I'm not sure I'm counting the pack out of this one.
Okay.
But I think Aaron Rodgers is going to fare a lot better in this game than big money Joe Flacco. I'm going with the Packers.
You just said the word that I was going to throw into my explanation as well. I'm going with the Packers as well. And it's one reason and one reason only. Mediocre Joe Flacco. Okay, there it is. I'm going with the Packers on that one. Take it. Let's go take a look at the second game, and that's the Tennessee Titans. We're going to move through this one a little bit quickly. Tennessee Titans at the Seattle Seahawks. 4:05 game on Sunday. The Titans right now are quietly, and I say that quietly. I mean, really, did you know that? If I didn't know better, I didn't look at it, I'd say, really? The Titans are 3-2? Yes, they are. But they lost at home to the Kansas City Chiefs last week, 26-17. Now, on the other side, the Seattle Seahawks suffered their first loss of the season at the hands of the Indianapolis Colts last week, 34-28. Vegas, though, isn't giving the Titans at this point right now any love, as the Seahawks are a 13.5-point favorite. Are we giving them any love?
No love here.
No love there?
So I'm sorry, but Seahawks at home, 12th man. I don't think I can see anybody beating the Seahawks at home.
Do they cover the spread? How about that?
No. Oh, yeah. No,
Seahawks will cover the spread?
Oh, yeah,
13.5. That's pretty high. I don't know if I'd want to take that one. But I'll tell you right now, if we're going head-to-head, I'm picking the Seahawks as well. As I pointed out in my conversation or in my chat there early on, Tennessee, 3-2, really? You're going in to Seattle? You ain't coming out with a win. Chalk it up as a loss, guys. All right, let's go take a look. Third game, Arizona Cardinals at the San Francisco 49ers. That's a 4:25 game on Sunday. And we threw this one on here. It's somewhat compelling because 3-2, we got 3-2 teams sitting for a tie in second place in the NFC West. And again, this is another one where I kind of look at it like the Titans, the Cardinals, rather quietly are 3-2. Because I got to be honest, if somebody were to quiz me, are the Cardinals a winning team? I'd say, no, come on, the Cardinals. It's the Cardinals. No, they're 3-2.
I don't know. I think Mark might have something to say
about that. Yeah, he might say something about that. Cardinals right now are coming off of a 22-6 win over the Panthers, where Carson Palmer threw 3 interceptions. Rare you're going to have a quarterback, throw that many interceptions and come out a winner, but he did. In the meantime, the 49ers put a whooping on the Houston Texans 34-3 in a game where Colin Kaepernick only put the ball in the air 15 times. How's that possible? This guy just doesn't look like the same Colin Kaepernick that we saw last year.
Sophomore slump.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm wondering. San Fran is favored by 10.5 at home. And as I just pointed out, Kaepernick ranked right now 25th in the league. Many are asking, when will the real Kaepernick show up? Is it going to be this week? 10.5 points is the spread on this one. Where are you going?
Arizona isn't quite what we were expecting.
3-2, dude.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Not quite what we were expecting.
Okay.
And the 49ers have been off to a rough start this year. Mm-hmm. But I think the 49ers are starting to gather some steam. And I'm sorry, I think the 49ers are going to get it this weekend.
It's the 49ers at home. And Carson Palmer won last week with 3 interceptions. Like I said, that's just unheard of. Different situation. You've got that San Fran defense. You can't have a quarterback throwing interceptions like he did last week against the kind of defense that you've got with the 49ers. Yep. I'm going with the 49ers.
And you got Gore.
Yep.
So even if like last week with Kaepernick only going in the air 15 times, you got Frank Gore.
Exactly. Last but not least, we got the New Orleans Saints at the New England Patriots, and that's a 4:25 game on Sunday. And I got to be honest, we had no trouble picking this one because it might just be the best matchup of the weekend. New Orleans beat the Bears last week, 26-18, with Drew Brees racking up. It's got to be, I would say this had to be the league high for the week, 120.0 QB rating. And I brought it up last week at this very time because we had the New Orleans Saints, we were talking about them right at the end of our picks. All the weapons that Breeze has available is just flat out sick. But he's going to need, in my opinion, every single one of them this weekend as they are in New England. The Patriots last week, they got to look a little better than they did last week because they were positively horrible looking in their 13-6 loss to the Cincinnati Bengals. The offense of the Patriots, I don't know how to say it any better than it just looked like they were stuck in mud. Brady threw no touchdowns, 1 interception, and ended up with a 52.2 QB rating. I'd have to go check records. That might just be the worst he's ever had. But we've been hearing more and more that Gronkowski will be in the game this weekend. Frankly, I think he better be. Patriots are favored at home by just 2.5. If Gronk is back, do the Pats win?
I don't know if Gronk's going to be enough. I think when you talk about pairings, you've got obviously you got Tom Brady and Gronkowski, and then you've got Breeze and Jimmy Graham. I think Breeze to Jimmy Graham is a more potent
explosive situation, particularly too in light of the fact if Gronk's coming back, this is going to be his first game of the season.
Yep.
But
so you got a matchup here between a dynasty that's fading out and a dynasty that's coming up.
Wow.
I'm going with the Saints on this one.
And there it is.
It is. My bomb diggity bomb pick, sponsored by CLW 83.
Generally, I always come out rooting for the Patriots, but I got to tell you, in the games that I have watched this season with the Saints, they just look too damn explosive. I don't know if there's anybody right now better in the NFC. I agree with you. Too many weapons. I've been going to it. I've been stating it now for 2 weeks. I got to go with New Orleans on this one. As a underdog, I got to go with them at New England. All right. There you go. There's our picks for the week. And before we get out of here, let's go over and take a look at our Frat House Sports Facebook post of the week, which is football related. And it covers a game that we didn't talk about. We can talk about it real quick here right now. And that was a post I put up. Who asked? I asked who wanted action on this week's Broncos-Jaguars game with the largest point spread in NFL history. 28 points in favor of the Broncos. You knew I had to get a reference in. Come on. Give it to me. I did a good job on that. I did a good job on that.
This guy will do anything to plug his quarterback.
Would you take a bet on this one or no? 28 points was the spread. I think it actually dropped. I think right now it's 27.5. Okay, I guess not. Keep the post
coming. There seems
coming.
to be no sign of intelligent life anywhere.
Oh my God, we got no intelligent life twice tonight. Oh my, we really must be dumb tonight. All right, keep the posts coming. Check us out over on Facebook, Frat House Sports. Give us a like, please. Get over there. We're getting a lot of new likes recently. I don't know if you noticed. I think it has something to do with all my
Peyton Manning postings.
Peyton Manning posts. That's what I think. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, real quick, let's go take a look at the.
Oh, yes, yes, I was waiting for this.
I know you were. You wanted to promote the fact you are now number 6. I'm number 5.
Yes.
In the league, you were right behind me.
Yep.
All right.
But.
Second place, go ahead.
But I played the 4-0 Doninators last week.
You did.
And crushed her 133 to 60 something. Oh. That's right. I get to do my icky shuffle. Yes. Twice this season, I've taken out undefeated teams.
You're wasting my time.
Well, you keep it up, all right? Help us out there.
Well, I need you to keep up your end and help me out. I'm helping you out. She's in your division.
I hear you.
I'm knocking off your division.
Fun stuff going on here. I mentioned it last week. A lot of competitiveness right now in the Frat House Sports Fantasy League. A lot there. And it just continues to be that way. We'll see if things start to shake up after this week. All right? Last thing I would say to you, please make sure you get over, check out our new Frat House Sports website. All right, you can get to that, frathousesports.net, new content up there. I just wrote a whole article this week. You had a chance to read it on the Philadelphia Flyers. I wrote that one up. You heard us talk about it earlier, so check that out. And, of course, all of our videos are over there. All right? Okay, as we enter Week 6 of the NFL season, we're counting down the Major League Baseball playoffs. We're counting down NASCAR. One more thing I need you to do. before next week. Keep us real, keep us live, keep us going. We'll see you next week. See you then. NHL campaigns opened last week, this time for a full season. We want to introduce a new occasional NHL segment. Hello? Yeah,
can we get through this?
Yeah. Exactly. Now, you can have that come in while I'm talking over it.
Well,
okay?
yeah, it's like the other ones, I guess.
So, a new occasional NHL segment, Mike and Sidekicks, and when I say Mike, you can hit it at that point. Mike and Sidekicks, two-man advantage.
Get Jim to make it.
Yeah, I know. I have to talk to him about that.
Music.
Yeah. This one was so short. I thought, what the hell? That's actually pretty, and it's going to be occasional because I don't see us doing NHL every week. So I kind of think when something big comes up, then I don't want to do it every week because we still have too much racing and stuff to cover.
Is Mike's and Sidekicks two-man advantage sponsored or
no? No.
Okay. I thought you might be giving that to the new guys.
No, because I got all their plugs in. You'll see in a minute. I've got a big plug in for them at the end. But I figure, we'll have NASCAR back in the mix next week. There won't be time for NHL until Major League until Major League Baseball gets out of here and NHRA gets out of here in some month. We won't. NHL will be when there's big topics, and we have a big topic right there.